It really is shocking that over 16,000 people are currently waiting for treatment at the London Gender Identity Clinic alone. And they are currently treating people referred in the summer of 2019. 6,225 children are currently waiting on gender waiting lists with waits of more than 3 years, completely normal. And if it takes that long to achieve a first appointment, imagine how long it takes to achieve 2 medical assessments. NHS figures issued last week have completely confused me because according to NHS England, the referral to treatment figures for the whole country state there are only 147 people waiting more than 104 weeks, that's 2 years, for any treatment. How is that possible? Or are gender identity clinics not included within that? It just doesn't make any sense at all. I'd be really interested to know how we can come up with figures and how we can look trans people in the face and tell them only 147 people are waiting for treatment when we know there are thousands and thousands waiting for life-affirming treatment for themselves. 50% of trans and non-binary youth have seriously considered suicide in the last year alone, driven by stigma, exclusion and hate. And a local teacher from Dorset told me that he found it deeply upsetting to see young people feeling their rights stripped away, saying that the ruling is not just a setback for human rights but an act of erasure. Another trans constituent told me that a system that protects all women, including trans women, that we need a system that protects all women, including trans women, and went on to say that I'm asking you to see me and help build a future where trans people don't have to fight every day to exist. What a sad state of affairs. Of course I'll give way.
I'm very grateful to Honourable Friend for giving way. Would she agree with me that we need to do more to protect trans people in Somerset, for example, where trans hate crimes have increased from 119 to 179, and whilst providing women only spaces where they're needed, we need to do more to stand up for trans people who feel frightened and afraid and are being attacked.
You're absolutely right. The honourable member for Taunton is absolutely correct. And we have to also think about, we talk a lot about the needs of trans women. We talk very little about the needs of trans men. And I'm deeply concerned about the impact on trans men who may be forced to go into women's toilets. Many of them do an amazing job of masking and appearing to be men. I'm sure most of us know people but have no idea they are trans men because so many of them are able to have fantastic facial hair, more so than some men that I know, incredible muscles and tattoos, and you'd have no idea. And imagine being a trans man and then being told you have to go to a women's refuge. Imagine being the women in that refuge and a trans man comes in and being told, well, I have to be here because I'm still going to be treated as a woman. That just is offensive. Of course I will.
In terms of the European Commission on Human Rights and the right to privacy, if a trans person has to out themselves every time they go to the toilet, does she, like me, believe that that fundamentally conflicts with that right to privacy?
I thank the honourable member for Aberdeen North for that intervention. I am shocked daily by the indignity that we are imposing and the impact on the human rights of people who are trans. Some words that have been used about the current gender recognition system: traumatic, intrusive and over-medicated. Just some words used by trans people about the current system. And I'm really pleased that one of our members in the other place, one of the Liberal Democrat members in the other place, is looking at how we remove the need for a spouse to consent. How can that be compliant with the human rights of a trans person that their spouse has to consent to them getting a gender recognition certificate? The recent Supreme Court ruling has made life as a trans person so difficult and calls into question the value of a gender recognition certificate. If these trans people who have undertaken all that is required to achieve that status are still to be treated as if they remain in the sex that they were assigned at their birth, what is the point of a gender recognition certificate? Therefore, self-ID seems the only viable alternative. So I ask the Minister direct, if self-ID is not to be progressed, what assurance can we have for our trans constituents that a gender recognition certificate will become easier and quicker to achieve? And that where a trans person has gone through many years of distress, treatment, cost and trauma, they deserve to be honoured and respected, recognising them as their legally acquired gender. I recently recruited a member of staff. Unfortunately, they didn't stay with me very long because they found the whole process quite traumatic. And the day before they were due to start, they emailed me to tell me that they were trans and they thought I needed to know. I was so upset that they felt the need to do that. What sort of world are we in that someone has to share that sense of that private information with me as their employer, and then were so traumatised by it, decided that they couldn't work in this role after all? I felt absolutely sickened. The Good Law Project recently said that given the hostile direction of travel in the UK, we, the Good Law Project, do not think it is a decent risk to be on a state list of trans people. I just want to go back to something that the Honourable Member for Aberdeen North said about death. I cannot imagine anything more awful for a parent to lose a child, as we've seen in recent years, particularly if it's been a violent death or a death by suicide, or somebody who has lived their life for many, many years in their required gender, and then to not be able to lay the person they love to rest in the gender in which they lived. There is no greater indignity than that. And if we do nothing else, I beg the Minister, make that change, that people do not need a gender recognition certificate for their death certificate. That is absolutely inhumane.